But I want to welcome everybody this morning to the Forsyth Tech Exec meeting. Happy New Year. This is our first meeting of the year. We're going to start doing these quarterly. And this morning we've got Steve Zembruski with us. He's actually been involved. He's on our board of directors at the chamber. I had the idea to do this about electrical chargers. Primarily because the county, as we work with the county, I noticed the county's updating their universal development code. They're actually requiring new developments, and I think it's anything over, I can't, 25,000 square feet, 30,000 square feet, but they're actually requiring now the larger buildings that they have make accommodations for electrical vehicles as part of the build plan. And the way that ordinance is written, that you have to have a certain amount based off of the number of employees, or maybe I think it's the parking spaces, but the number of parking spaces, you have to have a certain amount of chargers, but then you also have to have the infrastructure in place to add more in the future. And so, you know, if you watch what's going on with Tesla and now the competing of the other, I think Ford's coming out with an electric truck. You know, all the big companies are getting into the electric vehicle arena. This is our future. And so Steve and I were talking recently and asked him if he would present a program here. Steve with Buddy and Danielle, they sell a lot of chargers all over the Southeast. And so Steve is on the forefront of the movement that's happening in the electronic vehicle arena. And I wanted to invite him here, but just to give you a little background on Steve, first of all, thanks to our sponsors here, HC Robotics, Ad Victorium, Eclipse, Smith and Howard. Steve has 30 years of experience in the tech world. He was a graduate from Georgia Tech. He's done several complete software exits himself. He has a very successful track record. He sold his last company, didn't want to sit at home. And so he didn't start just one, but he started two companies, Quick Charge and New CyberSource. So Quick Charge is the charging pedestals, and CyberSource is actually a cybersecurity firm. So they're located right here behind the Home Depot in Cumming. And Steve, I'm going to turn the floor over to you, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen and invite you into the conversation and actually give you the floor. So thanks, Steve.
Scott, thank you for that introduction, sir. That's fantastic. So I guess as we dive into this, let me share this screen. But also ask of the audience, who has EV? Does anybody have EV experience or knowledge? And if y'all could maybe introduce yourselves and let us know, you know, what you do know and what you don't know. You know, what would you like to know? What can I share with you that's important? What's going to make it meaningful for you today?
I know Carter Patterson's joined us. He's got everything muted, but he just gave you a thumbs up. Carter's got the new Audi electric vehicle.
Yes, I love it. Great car.
Awesome. That is a good car. Fantastic car. Are you charging at home? Are you charging on the road? How are you handling your charging, sir?
I charge it at home every night. I have about a 200-mile range at a full charge, and I've never taken it on a long trip, but I generally drive about 50 miles a day, and it's been great.
Fantastic. Fantastic. For the meeting today, how can I make this beneficial for you?
I'm just all ears today.
Okay. Anybody else?
I know Jeremy. Jeremy has a software company as well as Carter. I think I would like to hear as I'm recruiting technology companies, you and I had talked about new revenue sources for companies that would enter in. I know one of our companies here in Forsyth, LG MRI, builds these electronic outdoor weather advertising boards. And so they've been talking with companies around the world to integrate their electronic billboards, if you will, with electronic pedestal stations. Somebody's got to create the software that integrates and creates the revenue streams for those.
Good. Is my screen still sharing?
Yes. It's very hard. You can't read it. It's so small. Is there any way that you could zoom it in a little bit? Yeah, down there at the bottom. There you go. Yep.
We can reformat it.
That works.
Right there?
Yep, that looks good.
Okay. So this is a presentation, just a Word doc I put together. I've got another folder of a bunch of documents in it that we can pull up and look at as the conversations, we go through this presentation. And, this is starting off on the very basics of definitions. We can quickly go through some of the ordinances and things that are coming out in California, kind of setting the stage for regulations for new properties and for the charging industry and the chargers specifically for themselves, which is going to force the manufacturers to provide more of a gas station experience. I'll share that with you. Then we'll look at some actual websites that you need to know about. And that'll give you some, if anybody's an app developer, there's a lot of green space there. As creative as you can be to develop apps for this market, they're coming online every day, right? They're coming online, be in early, try to figure something out. I haven't yet. I'm hoping y'all are smarter than me. We can come up with some ideas of maybe a partnership. That would be really cool. Then we'll, look at the charging timeframes. How long does it take a car to charge? And then the end of the proposal back end is the use case scenarios. Where do you use what type of charger where? And are you going to make that revenue producing or non-revenue producing? So basic definition, electrical power, amps times volts equal watts, real simple. For your home, you got a 40 amp breaker on a 240 volts on a 40 amp breaker, typically for a dryer. And that's what you would typically put your home charger on in the garage. And then how are you billed for that? The electric company is going to bill you on the time that you use it. So if you're at 40 amps, typically for the home charger at 240 volts, if you use it for an hour, then you get your number of kilowatt used. And that's what the companies in the US bill on is kilowatts. Internationally, I think they use joules, megajoules, but a different measurement of the same energy that you're buying, right? So you're buying the energy, not the power. Technical stuff, don't know if that's going to go there or not, but we'll cover it, have laid the groundwork. Some other terms that you'll see in the industry is a gasoline equivalent, a diesel equivalent, electricity as vehicle fuel. So California now has classified electricity, and if it's electricity for vehicle fuel, they're starting to regulate that specific component of the electricity. How is it dispersed? How is it measured? How is it funded and paid for? So we're really drilling down on that and setting the precedents for the country. EVSE, Electric Vehicle Service Equipment, is an acronym that's just pretty broad encompassing, but really focused on the charger. So somebody says an EVSE, usually they're speaking about a charger. Chargers are called EV chargers or electric vehicle service equipment. This is another new acronym, range per hour. And what they're defining here is if you plug your car into a charger and leave it connected for an hour, and then you unplug it, how far will you get to go after being plugged in for an hour? So is your range, if you need to go 100 miles and your charger is putting out 25 miles an hour, then you're going to need a 4-hour charge. So in the charging industry, we always talk about the range, the distance that you need, how long it's going to take to get there, and so you get the hours charged, and you come up with the range per hour. Here is what they call a California Title IV, and these are relatively new standards that California is imposing on the charger manufacturers to drive a gas station experience. So they historically, these did not exist. It was the Wild West. And it still pretty much is the Wild West everywhere except for California. But most of the manufacturers are in California. So I think, anything that's adopted in California, it's going to propagate across the country. They've set a standard that the smallest unit of measurement can be no greater than 0.0001 of a kilowatt. So what they're doing here is if you're billing anyone, then you have to bill in increments of 0.001 kilowatt. So a tenth of a watt, right? So you can't overcharge them. And they're driving to the billing scenario of we're going to bill on the power consumed, the power dispensed, the power that the customer gets and receives, and we're going to do it at such a granular level that it's equitable and fair. This one now is a unit price, and this is interesting on how they wrote this. When I read it, it really raised my eye that they are calling the EVSE, the charger, right, a computing EVSE. So a computing charger. And that's where the two technologies of the IT and computer world and charger world have come together. The chargers are an item on the internet. They are computing. They're creating a revenue stream, and they're creating a billing stream, revenue billing stream, same thing. So California is putting a lot of regulations on them. So they're calling this computing charger shall display the price that you're being billed to the customer, just like you'd see it on a gas pump. So are you paying, 12 cents a kilowatt? 15 cents a kilowatt? You can do it on megajoules, but again, the industry standard for us is with a kilowatt hour. If you're doing pre-charging, you don't have to do that. Next thing is they want the charger on the back end to be very well identified and marked. Is it a 7 kilowatt charger, 25 kilowatt DC or AC? Level 2 chargers are AC. The current that comes out of them is an AC current. It goes into the car, and then within the car, there's an AC to DC converter. Then the power goes to the battery. On a DC charger, the power coming out of the charger is DC, and those cables, when it's connected to the car, the receptacle that receives it on the car side has a cable that goes directly to the battery. So you're charging. It's a direct current charge directly applied to the battery. So the AC to DC converter, there's an onboard AC to DC converter in a car if it takes level 2 charge, and it's converting that power to DC, and that's limiting how much it can consume and process and deliver. It's actually a bottleneck. So California is making everything to be very well documented. and display 0. So another, display is going to be faced and you get the zeros. You have to zero out every indication of delivery. So you start at 0, and then you get an end of the charge. You get a readout like you would a gas station of what's your total amount that you consume, the total dollar value you have to pay. Gas station experience, Title IV, driving the charger manufacturers to manufacture new chargers, everything going forward will have to have the similar readout to a gas pump. Another one of interest is Title 24. This goes and really defines the requirements for provisioning new space. And interesting, the way they have it, and the way I kind of nicknamed it here, is 100% of 20% of the spaces, or 20% of 100% of the spaces. So when provisioning a parking lot, the traditional historical mode has been 100%. You have to provide 100%, and 100% means for them is defined as a level 2 charger, a 40 amp circuit breaker for 20% of your spaces. And you would wire a conduit from your electrical panel. If you had 100 spaces, 20 of them would get directly wired and have a 40 amp breaker and a charger available for that space. Other ways of doing that are distributing that charge and using load management software. And California is pretty darn innovative here, and they have now rewritten this such that you can take 20% of the power is distributed across all the parking spaces. So if everybody can get a little bit, or 20 of them can get a lot, is what they're trying to articulate and say here. So you can take 40 amp breaker to 20% of the spaces, or you can flip it and take 8 amps, which is a 20th of the 40 amp, right? Provision 8 amps out to 100% or all of the spots and spaces simultaneously. What's cool about this is all done through power management systems and software. So here, I guess when we started 5 years ago, the charger was a glorified power strip. And it has evolved into a power management system with software and controls. And now you have a design criteria that's going to be site specific. It's going to be budget oriented. It's going to be, revenue conscious. Are you going to try to generate revenue? What's your charging strategy and philosophy? What do you want to do from a charging standpoint for your property or your business? Is it amenity based to get additional customers in, or do you actually want to make money and revenue off of dispensing of the electricity? So it's evolved to an item of the internet, and software management is critical to make it all work. We go to power management systems. What are some features and functions of the power management system? I put a couple here. They give you a satellite, hub and spoke type of configuration where you can have a master hub, and then you can have less cost spokes delivering the power. So you have one control unit, and it can distribute the power and handle load management and also peak demands. All configurable in software. The software, has come a long way. If anybody's interested, I would invite you to take us up on a software demo of any number of manufacturers or use case scenarios. We don't have time for that today, but that would be the next evolution. If you have anything that you want to do from a charger perspective, whether it's amenity-based charging or fee-based charging, the next step would be to look at a short list of software vendors that you want, to understand your configurables and how you can design with and integrate, the different manufacturer software. Load balancing, huge. Again, this is back to the 100% of 20 of the spaces, or 20% of all the spaces. And so if you have a parking lot typically that's undersized from a breaker panel, you can still get energy shared to all the spaces by using load balancing. You have one car come in and pull in and he's on empty, the software will automatically give him the majority of the power and put the others on a trickle charge. Then once his car is up to 50%, 60%, it's configurable. You can distribute more of that power to the other tenants that are there that need the power. So that's load balancing. And then peak shaving is, if anybody's involved or knows about the billing cycles of the electrical companies, they pay you for your peak demand. Once you hit a peak demand, your level is set, your rate set. If you go over that peak, you get a penalty, and then your rate goes up, and they expect you to carry that forward, and they reprice you. So it's really the bad thing in the industry to go over your peak demand. The software, from a load management perspective, can provision the charger's output based on your software on what you allow it to pull from your breaker panel. So you can be assured that your charging infrastructure is not going to push you over. There still may be other times when other things on your property may push you over, like, if you size it up, and then if the ACs kick on and you didn't account for those in your calculations, you still may go over peak. So to minimize your peak demand charges, you have to have full visibility of all the things on the property that are consuming power. And you do a study, and then you come back and you set your peak demands. From a power perspective, billing perspective, I pulled up with a Georgia home, typical home, this is a 2019 average, is about 1,000 kilowatts per month, running about 130 bucks a month. Mine's over that. Don't know how y'all's is or is not. Does that seem about right to everybody? 150 bucks a month for a power bill?
It's about right.
Yeah, I think it depends on the time of year, but that's probably pretty average.
Yeah.
Pretty average.
Yeah, I'm running like 60 to 80 bucks.
Wow. That's okay, cool. So there's a background. Any questions?
Do you have any input on information? Because to be honest, I honestly looked myself at getting a Tesla last year and ended up not getting it because my father lives down in Destin, and Alabama has next to no quick charge stations in the entire state. From what I've read online, there's some kind of regulations where Alabama hasn't allowed them to be installed in a lot of locations. Do you know anything about any of that?
I don't know about the legislation preventing them. That's a new one on me. But that's a great question you asked. So there's an app for that, like everything else in the world. Are you familiar with PlugShare?
Yes.
So that would be the authoritative, and I've got them down there, next 2 pages, where I was going to go into a quick PlugShare app demo.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a tremendous resource tool for anything you're doing with the EVs, revenue-based, amenity-based, planning, provisioning, marketing, advertising. They are, really the high-end authority of an app being able to publicize your charger. So let's go take a current look. We'll log in and look and see what's available in Alabama. Before we get there, chargers are categorized as level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 3 is nicknamed a DC fast charger. And the difference between level 1, 2, and 3, one of the differences is the input voltage and current. A level 1 is typically a 120 home charger, standard wall plug. A level 2 is either a 208 or 240 volt plug, kind of like you would like a dryer receptacle. You plug it into that. And then a level 3 is a direct current DC fast. That's going to be in the neighborhood of 200 volts, 600 volts. Usually that is a 3-phase item, 3-phase circuit to drive that. You can put it on a single phase, but most people don't, right? Yeah, best practice is to not do that. Here's a quick slide on DC fast level 2 and level 1, showing you the miles you're going to get, the range you're going to get for every hour connected to this charger. So the home charger, you know, and these numbers are a little bit conservative. 4 to 6 miles per hour connected. That's a really, really slow charge. You go to the level 2 home charger on the 240 volt charger, you're going to get anywhere from 20 to maybe 30, 25, 30 with the newer technology today per hour of charge. And then the DC fast, you're going to get 90 to 120 per half hour. And then the next slide I've got coming up is where the technology is going, and who's competing, and who's winning. And at the ultra fast charger, an ABB 350 kilowatt, you can get 20 minutes or 20 miles per minute of range. So for every minute you're connected to the charger, you'll be able to drive 20 miles. That's pretty extreme. And ABB and Tritium are the two that chargers that come to mind that are in this 350 kilowatt range. We have another manufacturing company, local, Execs, out of Norcross, Portuguese-based company, but their U.S. headquartered is in the Southeast. They're the only one in the Southeast, actually probably the only manufacturer that's based on outside of California, outside the West Coast. And they have a 350 as well. So give them special note. We like them a lot because they're local. We can get parts, we can service it. They're good guys. You know, their hours are the same as ours. So if you're looking for anything in the level 2 up world, Execs is a great vendor and a partner, and they're local. So I was going to, from here, so now we get into, again, business case scenarios, how can you make money here with the charging industry? And one is apps, third-party apps. The biggest that has taken off is one called PlugShare. So this applies to all markets, all verticals. Other ways to make revenue is to be an installer, an owner, an operator, a reseller, developer, manufacturer, site host. With the site host, you can do revenue shares with the site owner or with the charger owners. You can invest, but the entire vertical market, everybody uses this app. The EV drivers use this app. Once you put a charger in the ground, it's real easy to put your charger on the app. It's kind of a crowdsourcing information. And every time somebody uses your charger, they have the ability to put a note about your charger, right? Did it work? Did it not work? The rates are published. And so I was going to dive in. And from here, I went ahead and bookmarked the Georgia Power chargers that are in the Marketplace Boulevard in the Provino's shopping center. Where did that go?
When you say the Georgia Power chargers, is Georgia Power getting into the charging standalone units themselves?
Oh yeah, yes, sir. They have a number of them. Their first phase and implementation was, I think, 38 across the Southeast, and now they're probably up to 50. They're trying to do DC fast. So here is PlugShare. Here is the charger site at Cumming Marketplace Village. They provide you a list of the connectors. You know, so there are connectors out there for those that aren't knowledgeable of that, but there's J1772, which is level 2. The Chatamo and CCS are both DC fast. And if we go down to pictures, now before I get there, let me go through this. So you got the style of connector, which is card dependent. The address, here's where they actually provide the payment required, the fee they're going to charge. So their Georgia Power is currently charging 25 cents a minute for DC fast. They're charging $1 an hour for the first 3 hours of a level 2. Then they go to $1 a minute, or 10 cents a minute, I mean, right, which is $6. I mean, it's a big jump. I haven't figured this one out. They really awed me with this one. You know, and I've been speaking with them. They want to have somebody get a small charge and move away, right? They want to do intermittent small charging and make sure the charger is available for people, rather than to have somebody sit there on the level 2 for an extended period of time. Again, a level 2 to fill up your battery, you could be there for 4 to 6, 8 hours, depending on the battery size. And they deter that behavior through the fee, through the software, and jack the price up after 3 hours. It goes from $1 to $6 an hour. That's just a huge, huge jump.
So
Most of the independents are.
They're incentivizing you to get in and get out real quick.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They really are. The industry is around $2 an hour for a level 2. And, you know, they're just, so they're under the industry average, and then they, you know, really blow through the top end if you stay there long. Very informative site. So here are the different types of plugs that are car dependent. J1772 fits every car out there. That was the first initial plug. Chatamo is an Asian standard, and CCS is a European US standard for DC fast. Again, 50 kilowatt here, 50 kilowatt there, and these are at 6.6 kilowatts, the level 2 charger. And then here's where you get the check-ins. People will tell you what's going on with it, right? Continue to see intermittent sessions. You know, this is Georgia Power, Georgia Power EV driver. They're letting everybody know that they're still having problems with the charger. The charger's having service issues. It needs to be repaired. And that was on the 16th. On the 10th, they were trying to repair it. So they're having some trouble over there with a couple of their chargers. It gives you other chargers. So if you were to look at this and, you know, if you can't check in, if somebody's on it, it'll tell you that's been used. So the other one that I had pegged for us to look at.
Steve, did you want to check out Alabama while you're still there?
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I just went actually looked at it myself. It looks like they finally put one in Eufaula, and they've got a few of them down in Dothan too, down in that area. So they're finally covering that area.
That's on the way to Destin. I'm glad to hear that. I got a place down there myself.
That's where my dad's at, is in Destin, right outside of Destin. So that's why I was like, there was nothing down the whole 431 corridor all the way through there forever.
This screen paint's a little slow here. I gotta go further out.
Yeah, because I know originally when I'd looked, the Tesla quick chargers, the only spot that they had them was they had, I think there was 1 or 2 in Birmingham and 1 or 2 in Montgomery. And that was it. Everything else was like your trickle chargers. And, you know, of course, when you're on a 5-hour drive, the last thing you want to do is stop and sit there for 4.5 hours to get the car to charge up.
Yeah, you can't. That's not going to work for you. So there's a supercharger for you on 85. You thought that you want to look over here though, right? Okay.
Yeah, I go down 431 out of Columbus through Phoenix City.
Yep. Phoenix City. Here's that one. It's like Mariana. Oh, they got a supercharger in Mariana. That's impressive.
Yeah, because I was looking at that one in Dothan, which I can't remember where it's. I just saw it was. I was just looking at it a minute ago.
ChargePoint, CCSC, DC Fast. Construction underway. They're just now installing them. And that's by Dothan Utilities. The utility company is dropping in 2 of them. They heard you, man.
I told you there's a pretty scarce stretch of road when it comes to driving an electric car to be able to make it there. When it's you're looking at a 5.5 hour drive. I don't know many 395 mile drive. I don't know many electric vehicles are going to make that drive.
Yeah, that stretch between Phoenix City and Eufaula is pretty bare. Of even gas stations, there's only a few.
And coming from Atlanta, everybody in Atlanta goes to the Panhandle at some point. That's the best beach to go to.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I agree totally. Yes, sir.
I have a question. Is there a provision that if you're in your electric car and you can't find a charging station, what happens when you run out? There's no tow truck.
All AAA?
AAA will come out and they will charge you. They do have small generators in the truck now. AAA trucks now to charge you sometimes.
Really?
AAA, or take your wall charger with you, right? So on here also, some of these are just wall outlets. This one is a wall outlet, non-networked. If you bring your own charger with you, they're allowing you to park, plug in with the expectation you're going to go shopping, right? So here's an amenity-based wall plug. They've at least announced and allowed public access to the wall plug and the power. You have to bring your own charger. So plug share, you got to know about it. Got a few more minutes left. Want to wrap up and show you some more stuff here. So there's the Georgia Power, $1 an hour for 3 hours. Then they jack it at $6 an hour. Halcyon has 6 stations over there, and they're all free. So their business model is uniquely different. They're doing it to get people to come in to go shopping, and they allow you to park there with no charge. To get a charge with no fee. And so just to see their listing, parking free, 6 charging stations, charging is free, no authorization required. You don't have to log in, you plug in, you push a button, turn it on, and you're getting juice. Right now, 5 are available and 1 is in use. And then nobody has any bad comments on it. Nobody's saying that it's broke or it needs to be fixed. So if you decide to go there to charge, you got a spot that's not going to be broken. So that's the PlugShare app. PlugShare, you can plan a trip. You can route your chargers, based on distance between them. It's just really, really a cool, useful app. And then here's another app that, and then, I don't know the guy, but I wish I had thought of this. And he's launched one specifically for hotels. So hotels that have EV chargers are now able to advertise on his website, and you get free advertising to the EV hotel. You get free advertising directly to the EV driver. There's benefits and reasons, tangible and intangible, why you'd want to list your hotel here. And just, I still see app development as a huge way to capitalize on this market. So I picked 3 kind of websites to show you. And so EV Hotels is like a smaller version of a PlugShare, and it's actually Apple map based. And you can go through here and you can plan a trip. You can list your hotel, you can subscribe, those types of things. I got to speed it up because we're running out of time. And then here's one that's totally different, which is even cooler, is My Green Car. So in this app, you download the app and you pick the car that you think, an EV car you think that you want to own. And you turn the app on and you just drive with it in your car, right? And so after a week of running around town, you can come back and say, okay, what would this have been like if I was in that car? If I was driving the Nissan Leaf, or if I was driving the Tesla, where would I have had to have stopped and get a charge? When would my battery have been out? How far could I have gone? So a lot of just really cool stuff in this third-party app. So very, I think, a lot of room in app development in regards to the EV industry. One that I haven't seen yet is a lot of third-party parts or OEM parts. The parts aftermarket business is going to be huge, as big as it is in today's market. So I think we'll see more specialized apps come out for third-party, parts. So app development, huge market. Install and service and repair, huge market. The manufacturers are struggling to have service and repair work done. They don't have the people, they don't have the national sales force or repair force. They can't afford to hire a staff across the US to service and maintain chargers. They are really leaning on local repair and service workers. Everybody's level 2 charger is return to depot parts only. They won't sell an on-site service contract. And that's where we come in as a VAR and local. We can service it, we can swap out the parts, much more efficient than a manufacturer can. So it's an industry problem right now across the board. So if you go to PlugShare and you start to look at chargers, and you look at, if you really drill down onto the customer's notes, we can always see where service is needed, and it's a matter of not if they want to pay for it. So we've got a constant book of leads through PlugShare as a service and install, authorized manufacturer, and we service and repair chargers. So we go to PlugShare and look for leads. The electrician is going to have a boom the next decade. Just local electrician, the industry can't get enough of them, and they're going to be saturated. We're a reseller, right? Customers always want choice. They're going to need system integrators. That's what we do. That's a very viable market and viable business. Owner operator, there's not a bad place to put an EV charger. You can put one, any and every business will have a need, and it depends on how they can benefit from that to their customer base. Is it amenity-based charging, or is it fee-based charging? And if it's fee-based and or amenity-based, what charger is going to be the right charger for their clientele? Is it a level 2, or is it a DC fast, or is it a mix of both? So for dealerships, it's always going to be both. They're going to want a fast charger out front for the customers. They're going to need smaller chargers that are more price affordable to service bays. They're going to need chargers that are even slower out back. So over the weekends, it's like they can plug a car in and get a trickle charge to keep their entire fleet. And as they grow, they need to keep all their cars' batteries charged. Hotel and resorts, again, marketing, you become a destination point for potential customers and clients. Ones that have it, and if you're an EV driver, you're going to look for a hotel with a charger. You're going to plan your trip around it. Multifamily dwellings, here again, the most common use case for this segment is level 2 charging. And load management is has enabled us to design much more complex systems for them to be able to address more spaces. So every time we're in a parking deck, they always seem to be limited on power because they weren't provisioning for charging when they built it. And how do we get charging capabilities to every space? So trying to get back to that 100% of power available to as many spaces as we can, not concerned as much about the amount of power, but more of serving all the spaces, because we know there's a onslaught coming, right? Market's going to increase. Restaurants, if you got a charger, I think every Waffle House ought to have one. Back in the day, growing up, you in sales, and I got a page on my pager, and I pull over to the Waffle House and go to the phone booth and make the phone call. And kind of like, you stop for a meal, pull into a Waffle House, plug your car in, and get a meal. They haven't taken me up on my offer yet, but I'm still knocking on their door and trying to put some in the Waffle Houses. So that's where I kind of paused on ways to make money with chargers. How do you increase the revenue or value proposition for your clientele? If there are any, specific vertical business segments that you'd like to discuss, I'm wide open for that. But this is just, kind of a short list. Again, I don't think it's a bad place to put one. Depending on your business model, it's going to help you, in some way.
Steve, I was just going to interject, and you touched on it, like that the chargers are configurable. But if a business owner wants to put a charger or two in, you can configure it so that your employees can charge for free, and people who are driving around and need to stop and charge can charge for a fee. So it's like you said, you can mix it up so that it's not just free or for a fee. You can mix it up and have it configurable so that you can charge certain people, or if it's a dealership and you want to offer it free to your customers who drive, like, for instance, the Audi dealership. If you want to provide free charging for your Audi customers, your Audi electric vehicle customers, you can configure that. And then other people who are just driving by and want to stop in and plug in, then you can have a fee for that. So that's kind of valuable as well.
Steve, I have a question. If I owned a business, say a restaurant, and I wanted to put a charging station out front, I mean, what am I looking at? Is it $5,000 for a pedestal? Is it $30,000, or what is that? Just average.
There you go, right here. We're seeing installations go typically for a level 2 anywhere from say 3,000 to 5,000.
Can you blow that up a little bit? We can't read it. It's too small.
You know what? Let me try over here. And before I do that, I guess I gotta move the screen first. Is that better?
Yes, very much.
Oh yeah, portrait versus landscape, big difference.
Yep. Okay. Sorry about that. I didn't know, man. I'm not on the other side. I can't see it. So, so we're in portrait mode, and here's just a baseline quote. Standard level 2 pedestal with 2 chargers in it. Network installation. 5 years, all inclusive. This would be us providing on-site service, which the manufacturers won't do for level 2. So if it breaks, it's a de-install. The home level 2 chargers tend to have a plug into the dryer outlet. The commercial level 2 chargers tend to be hardwired. As soon as you hardwire it, which is needed for commercial charging, when there's an issue, if it can't be repaired, then you've got to hire an electrician to deinstall it so that you can send it back to the manufacturer. It's a thorn. I'll just tell you right now, right? Huge value that the channel can bring to the industry is local service. But there's a very typical, you know, for level 2 commercial, 5-year cost of ownership. I've got, you know, it's the revenue associated with that. If you wanted to do a revenue generation, some modeling of how much revenue, how many charges would it take for that pedestal to break even? And on this one, I've got it set up using Georgia Power's rates of, you know, $3 for 3 hours, $1 an hour. There's always a connection fee as soon as you plug in, initiation fee. There's transaction fees associated with all the software providers who do the back-end clearing. That's usually a credit card that you install in an app. Typical is 10% and 40 cents per connection, 10% per transaction. So when you first plug in, you owe them 40 cents like for connecting. And then if you charge for 3 hours at $3 or $1 an hour, then you owe them another 30 cents. So your total is going to be 70 cents cost. And the rest of it flushes out here. At 4 charges a day, with a default charge of 3 hours, then this pedestal would generate monthly cash flow of $120 after the lease payment. So we've got these types of modeling done for the different manufacturers of chargers and are able to, you know, really consult a business and let them know, or, you know, we can run all the what if scenarios. And then we use PlugShare to look at the charger concentration in the area. So if it's a very competitive market with lots of chargers, then we can go a step further and go to the Department of, what's it called? Tell me out, somebody. Automobile registrations. The
DMV?
DMV, yeah. You can go to DMV and you can pull it. They'll actually allow us to pull the data to determine, we can get a report on how many EVs are in the segment down by zip code. So we can find out on a zip code by zip code basis how many EVs, what's our potential market share. And you can also look at PlugShare at the surrounding chargers to define, you know, to see what their utilization rate, when are they at max capacity, and when they're at max capacity and they're full, then the market's going to pay up for charging. So you can use the software to, on those peaks, you can actually raise your price, and it'll do it automatically. So, you know, maybe, you know, Monday lunch, everybody goes to lunch and plugs their cars in at this local restaurant or something. At that point, you can raise your price. Sunday afternoons, nobody's there, you lower the price. So we've got the software dynamics and capabilities and the other tool sets. It's hodgepodge, right? You can go to DMV, go to PlugShare, and drill down from those two and get a good idea of a forecast revenue stream from charger utilization. We've got operating agreements. So if you want to allow, you want to become a site host and allow chargers to be put on your property and get a revenue share off the charger, but want a hands-off, we provide that white glove effect all the way down to owning the charger, operating the charger. It would be on your site, we would own it, and we do a revenue share on that one. Simple document, very bottom, site owner will see a percentage of the net income. And that's a 10-year agreement. We have to, again, do the studies to make sure that we're going to get our investment back on the charger in the time to do that. It would be 100% maintained if it's in a good site and if it qualifies. So it has to qualify. See what other goodies I got. Yeah, the high-end fast chargers, we feel the pricing difference. Home charger is $500 to $1,000. Kind of hard to pay $1,000 for a home charger right now, and it's on the decrease. The level 2s are in that, the pedestal range, or is still in that range of the list price around $6,000 for 2 of them in the pedestal. So with the pedestal and the chargers, you can almost think of the charger being $1,500, the pedestal being $1,500, the 2 chargers and a pedestal around that $4,500, under $5,000. Modem a couple hundred, software per port a couple hundred. Anyway, you're for a pedestal, you're in the $5,000 to $6,000 range for 2 level 2 chargers. For a DC fast, add a 0. So it's going to be DC fast chargers, or in the 50 kilowatt is around 25,000 installed, another typically 8,000. There is a 25 kilowatt that has come out that's lower in the DC fast. The DC fast charging family is getting more granular, so we have more pieces to puzzle in the best solution. But even those are coming in probably 15 to 18K for the charger. Then you have to add on everything else, the bells and whistles to pack it out. So for DC fast, you're anywhere from over 20K to maybe 35, 40K. Up to the highest end, the ADB, the 350 kilowatt that we showed on the slide earlier, that was 100,000. So we have got PowerPoint, kind of just product families. These are residential. Commercial level 2. The big difference between these 2 here, they're commercial rated, but they have no software capability. So you can't control them. Commercial level 2, higher end pedestals. DC fast. More DC fast. In the 25 to 30 range. These are the 175 to the 150s, and I don't have the 350 on there yet. Most of the manufacturers in the DC fast, the high end, should have put that on here. Their warranty comes with on-site and parts. So they are providing on-site warranty for service and parts. They'll either fly a guy out from California to do it on an on an ad hoc basis, or they'll use their local service provider if they have one. And we are, for all these vendors, a local service provider. So we get a lot of service work out of the industry, and at the high end, they'll all have, they're evolving now, the remote diagnostic capabilities built into the chargers. And they're able to diagnose, send us the parts. We get the parts, we go on site, repair the unit, and then ship them back and return the parts. So the industry's involved, you know, with the software capabilities, connectivity, and remote access to run diagnostics and have a good swag of what's wrong with the charger. And at the DC fast, sometimes it's a 2-visit fix. Sometimes we'll you know, replace a handful of components that the software identified, but there may be another component that's downstream, down that leg of that circuit that may be fried also. So then we won't know that until we replace the first one and then come back.
So your repair guys are basically licensed electricians, is that correct?
On the DC fast, yes. On the level 2s, not necessarily. And actually, if a screen goes out on a DC fast, we wouldn't send an electrician. We would send a computer guy, an IT guy, right? So you got low voltage technology in these, and you got high voltage technology in these. And it's okay for us to send a low voltage guy out to swap out an LCD screen when it goes bad. So we'll balance the service work accordingly. Good question.
So you need
Any other questions?
You need a licensed electrician that knows how to take apart a computer.
Yes, sir. And that skill set, not only the skill set, it's also a passion.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's unique. It's great when we can find that.
Well, does anybody have any more questions for Steve? I find this very interesting. I've been curious about this market. It feels like it's still in the early infancy. Would you say?
It is. Offerings like this, right? We're coming out with dedicated charging and, you know, able to take it and map it and come up with peaks and chargers, and, you know, all the technology is now at our fingertips. So we can look at your peaks, we can throttle down your peaks, we can customize the software capability and the computing, that's the compute power in the charger, gives us the ability to shape that waveform any way we want. So it's taken 10 years for that to happen. When we first got in the market, the chargers were a glorified power strip.
Yeah.
And, you know, we'd go and, you know, sell one, install it, and plug it in. And then, you know, the hard part with that is they ever had a problem, it was roll 2 men in a truck and go look at it. And, you know, so there was always service fees, visit fees, inspection fees. You can't roll 2 men in a truck for free. You just can't do that.
Right.
So with the software, it's a lot easier for us to write a maintenance contract on a installed base of chargers if they're smart chargers and have the software capability for us to do remote diagnostics on them, determine what the problem is, source the parts ahead of time, and then go make the repair.
Got it. Well, I guess that's it. Steve, is there anything else? Unless anybody else has any more questions.
Hey, Scott, I have a question.
Yes.
Hey, this is Martin.
Hey, Martin.
Hey, I'm just curious, you showed us the kind of what the profit could be for somebody putting in a new charger in their parking lot or in their business. What is the typical payback for that? Is that typical what you showed, or what's the typical payback? Is it, say, a couple of years, 1 year, 5 years, or is it really it really depends?
It really depends, and I hate to say that. And the reason why, without going to DNV and without doing the plug share, you know, study and determining how many potential EVs are even in your patch and where are you located and what's your business model. I need all that information to predict your utilization rate, right? So what's going to drive the behavior is going to be the price, but also your market potential. How many EVs are you servicing? And, are you on a freeway? If you're on a freeway, then you can get traffic, people, who are traveling, state, interstate, cross country, those types of things. The freeway traffic, if you buy the high-end charger, they're looking for the gas station experience. So you got to pay up for that. On this one right here, this is the level 2, and it's more, its use case scenarios are apartment buildings, multifamily dwellings is probably the best place for them. Parking garages, any type of place where you're going to have somebody come there and reoccur, right? They're going to park there every day. And that's going to be the hotels and the parking lots. Tier 1, definitely those two. Tier 2, next, just a small step down from that, it's going to be hotels. So anybody who's going to a hotel is going to, if they have an EV, they're going to go to a hotel with a charger. What else? For revenue, golf, a golf course, a hospital. Somebody's going to, workers going to come, right? So commercial, I'm thinking commercial market. So any type of place where you have somebody drive up and park their car for 4 to 8 hours or longer is where you put the level 2 chargers, and then determine if you want to, what your business model is. Can you build them for the charge, or do you want to set the charge there and give the power away to pull them into your business model?
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, there's so many variables there.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you can guarantee me the number of chargers, how many people are going to plug in, then that would be easy. This part right here is number 4. That's the unknown, right? We can model everything else.
Okay. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah. We're putting them in up and down 400, and at different establishments. And I know that the current utilization is going to be low, but I still feel like we'll get our ROI back probably less than 3 years, maybe under 2. Get a return, right? Get the capital paid for. I just feel as if there's going to be I know there's going to be huge demand. So historically, we've had the Nissan Leafs at the bottom and the Teslas at the high end. And that mid-market hasn't been available. And that's becoming available this fall, and even more so in 2022. Nissan's putting out a new SUV. They call it the EUV. There's not a car manufacturer out there that's not making the migration and switch to EVs. So now we have the onslaught of that mid-market. The mass adoption rate is coming over the next 2 years. So any new construction, oh my gosh, if they don't put the conduit, well, regulation is going to force them to put the conduit in and help them not make that mistake. But they should actually put more in than less on new construction.
Well, folks, I guess that brings us to the end. I want to thank everybody.
If you would like to do a study or anything, if you want to look more at the revenue share model, I mean, the return on this, reach out to me. I can do some site surveys and do some background work and kind of give you a better forecast.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Steve, I appreciate the conversation. We've had some really good questions, so you've obviously hit a very interesting topic for everybody else.
Well, it's coming, man. I mean, the next 2 years,
Yeah.
the product line is going to really hit the next 2 years. Again, this fall and then next year.
We need the infrastructure.
And yeah, the infrastructure is needed.
I think I read
and
where
we can make money.
isn't it Honda that said that they won't make an internal combustible engine after 2023? I think so.
Yeah.
Probably, but we've heard that from
4G.
You're saying Ford, he's saying Ford and GM. I know I've heard it from Volvo,
Mhm.
Jaguar. There was just so many manufacturers that are making that statement, and they have to, right? It's where the market's going.
Yeah.
I mean, Tesla is crushing it. Look at their stock price. Oh my gosh, right? I remember 5 years ago, people, the investment community was balking him. Like, oh, you'll never make it. You're not a car company. And really, he's not. He's an IT company.
Right.
So he's leading the way, and he's an IT company. The Tesla is an IT. Should be in the IT market. Wall Street should not have them classified as an automobile dealership manufacturer. That's the wrong classification for those guys. And most of the people know that too.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that wraps us up. Again, Steve, I appreciate you doing this for us. I appreciate everybody that's jumped on the conversation with us. Steve, if you'll hang out with me for just a couple of minutes. Otherwise, I'll tell everybody thank you, and that'll end our conversation for the day.
Sure. Scott, thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for participating and listening in. And if you have any questions, reach out to me by all means.
Cool.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome, Martin. Take care.
Yes, sir.
All right. Good job, Steve.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, that really put my mind to spinning. I wish there was a way that I could put some pedestals somewhere as like a future annuity.
Well, and I missed that. I didn't use my classic line. I didn't say this, right? Gosh darn, how did I miss that one?
What's that?
It's like it's a gumball machine with an infinite supply of gumballs.
Yeah.
You never have to, it is. It's a vending machine with an infinite supply of gumballs. You never have to refill it. Realistic return, I think, payoff is probably 2 to 3 years. And then you're 100% profit for the next 7 or 8, the next decade.
Mm.
That's at the model of today. That's like how quick the car comes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
30%.
That's really today's modeling. And that's modeling, Scott, with you got 24 hours a day, right? You got two chargers in a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
The modeling that I showed was 4 chargers, four sessions, right?
Yeah.
Of the 48, because you have 2 chargers in that pedestal. On a single day, you got 48 hours where it could be used.
Yeah.
This is 4M3 utilization of 12. So this is 25% utilization rate.
Yeah.
That's where it gets amazing, right? So, 25%, at 25% of your available hours of use, you're still making $100 a month. Positive cash flow.
Yeah.
I mean, so I could do it. I could do other scenarios and say, what's it going to look like when you have 50% utilization rate?
Yeah.
And it's just in the math. It's just math. It's just double it, right? Just double it. You get 8. Yeah. It's just like, man. It's just the vertical line.
Yeah.
that's where it gets exciting. And this modeling here is such a baseline that, yeah, we're trying. That's why we're trying to put as many in the ground as we can.
Yeah.
You know?